start of video number 2. This is 2 of 2. There's no 3 today. We'll go from Google. We'll go to Gap. So Gap is like conundrum. Gap prices used to be, I haven't shopped at the Gap in eons, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million on sale for 2 cents. So they keep their things expensive and then they go down to like $1. So the chart is from here to here and now back to halfway and bouncing off of that. I think it would be better entry around 13 rather than chasing it up here. I think it will fail around 15 if they try again. So be careful chasing this underperformer. I mean, that's a flat top if I've ever seen one. So I don't know why I would want to own it. An investment, I don't think it's a good company. A trade, if they take out this zone, says 15.5, okay, they can get to 19. I would rather start on a dip. But if that's your goal, fine. Put some money into it and make sure you set a stop loss. Okay. All right, so wait, that's not it. I always fall for it. Please remove Hindustan Aeronaut from my list of stocks, please. Thank you. God. All right. I don't want to exclude all Indian companies. I just don't want, when I type Halliburton, for it to come up with an Indian company as a default. Okay. So this is a company that I haven't traded in a decade. Falling into recent support, has a catalyst up here. I don't think that catalyst is going to happen. So if you buy the dip here, I would exit on a trade. If you're investing in it and making sure, I want you to make sure to take advantage of rallies. Like if I'm holding calls or shares and the rally gets me whole again, I would exit. I don't like this company at all. And there's a weakness down here, so I think you'll have the opportunity to buy it cheaper. That's to be honest. Okay, see how it happens. I have to scroll back down here to find my way. HD. The earnings are on Tuesday, so I'm not going to say a word because whatever I say doesn't matter. This is a chart. This was my chart, my path available. Above here, you go to here. Below here, you go to here. Nothing has changed. And if you're asking me now what's going to happen on Tuesday, what's the point? You can't do anything about it. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. If it falls into 305 and 302, I'd be a willing participant in trying to catch the falling knife, but not too quickly. If I'm right about the economy, remember that comment about Amazon earlier? I think there's a good chance that this stock is going to be shellacked in the long term. Like, I think if I'm right about the economy and that Powell already broke it and we don't know it, this stock will be in a world of hurt because nobody's going to spend money on their homes like they were. Nobody's going to refinance. Nobody's going to build. So where is it going to get its money? Be careful. I am not investing in this company. It's a good company, but the environment could be very, very hostile. And again, that's a big if. I'm speculating. I don't know anything. I'm not political. I don't know the government, but it looks like on paper, the government broke the country. And we don't know it yet. Intel. This is the opposite. It gets no respect. Management scared the metics out of me last time with their earnings report. I actually believed them. So I used to be a big fan saying it will come back and it will come back, and now I have a big question mark. Will it come back? So be careful of a management team that tells you we suck. That is a dangerous management team. That management team needs to get out of there and get one saying, okay, we have challenges, but let me tell you how we're going to get back to winning. Not, oh my God, things are so crappy, you can't even believe it. And they don't offer me anything other than that. And I'm a fan. It's like, what? Okay. So I will stop being a fan until you have figured it out. So technically, you do have buyers in 226 plus or minus 50 cents. Anywhere below that, I would venture for a long as a trade. J&J, I will never touch it again, ever again. I had a credit put spread. It worked out last week if somebody didn't listen to me and close it early. But that was as gross as price action I've ever seen in a good company. So I will never touch it again. This joined the 2 or 3 other stocks I don't touch. I charted it well, and it just was too tough. I will never touch it again. So what are you doing with it? It's falling into support and lost support and closed the gap. Wow, look at that. Closed the gap. Prior bounce. So this is a good entry point on paper. I will never touch it again. It can go to hell. The entire thing. The stock, not the company. Company does good work. Rallies will be sold because that's what's going on. How far up? I don't know. So expect sellers around 164, plus or minus $1. So if you made money on this bounce from a trade perspective, if you had a loss and it got you whole, like if you rolled a credit put spread because you didn't close it earlier and you were in trouble on Friday and you rolled it, this rally got you back to whole, you should have exited. If not, exited on Tuesday. I'm telling you, it's the better decision because it's not trustworthy. Kellogg's. It's a decent hold. If they get to 69.5 or 69.7, it could actually get to 71, but it's tackling some old beasts, and I'll tell you what those are. Look at this zone, 70.1. They tried to hold onto it to dear life, and then they fell apart. Let's zoom out. Let's take everything out. We don't care about these comments. Okay, so when I say pivotal zone, I mean a zone where there's price action above and below. And look at that. They've been going back and forth since the pandemic. Actually, before that. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's go to weekly. Okay, monthly. All right, so this is the line I just drew. Check it out. So this is a multi-decade zone of contention. I'm trying to put the best fit line in it. I don't know, there. This line has been in contention since 2012. 2012 old pivot. Which means it should have buyers around it. So if we go back to a short period of time, it's not a hard line in the sand, but you can understand why I'm saying that I could be long to see if they can make progress. Kroger recently not good on a daily basis, not good. They're selling rallies. So here's the question, old dark pool level. Okay, so the question is, we have proven solid support, but must hold. That's still the case. Support below that. So you have lower highs trying to, you want to say higher lows? It's more like a zone that's trying to hold. You lose this zone with 41.85, you're going to get to the 30s quickly. And then that would be an excellent opportunity if the fundamentals are still the same. It's worth a long if you know the risk below. Oh, earnings are coming. Okay, so I don't know. If you twist my arm based on the daily chart, I would take shares or in the money calls way out. So just because it has such a floor below it, we'll see. LAC, I think there was a headline overnight, wasn't there? Tesla, rumors of Tesla buying some sort of a lithium provider. If that's the case, the whole segment is going to go to the moon. I don't know if it broke out over the weekend or before the close on Friday or what, but there might be some murmurs. So the way I would trade it, if Tesla dips on that buyout opportunity or investment headline, I would buy Tesla instead of chasing these guys. So LAC is pretty wild trader. I would get long in the 20s, low 20s, sorry, not up here. But if it takes out 27, it could rally. And these are meme stocks, so know what you're doing. This is support now. It's not resistance. Support zone. Here. And a better one here. And a catalyst up there, whatever that is. What does that say? You take that out, you go higher. It's twisted. Eesh. Yeah, I don't like it. But anyway, there's no obvious entry point. LUV. I don't like airlines. I like this one the least. They used to have an edge. They used to have an it factor. It's gone. So this has been pivotal for a while. You can see it. This is still there, I guess. I don't know why they would go there. You do have resistance line and a resistance zone. This is a line. LAV thoughts on upper limits of sell cover calls. Oh, somebody had a question. Vulnerable that came out. Breakout played out perfectly. So it behaves well relative to the fundamentals. And if that's the case, what the heck is that? This is your next catalyst if it happens. Okay, so it's not easy. So I wouldn't buy calls because that shows up there. But that would be an opportunity to get you to 44. So if you hold longs on a higher low trend, I don't mind it. But it's in the middle of the range. Credit put spread could work. Credit put spread, debit call spread combination would be my choice. I can this way I can gamble on the support, feelings aside, and capture the upside with a debit call spread. No touch. This guy could be 48, 46, 42. No touch on a daily basis. Earnings coming? No. Earnings just went. No touch. Vulnerable, and the vulnerability is playing out. Shorter term, there might be bounces. Make sure that they clear 58.50. If they don't, I think my arrow will come to fruition. Be careful. Don't add. Lift, if you bought the dip for a trade on a huge comeback, I don't think it's going to make a huge comeback, but there it is. People love that. I would have sold puts and then I will add calls or call spreads later. That would be the only way I would do it. So the company is not great, but it doesn't completely suck. To be honest, I found it funny. The CEO was talking about bicycles and scooters and whatever, and I just found it funny that we're glued to listen to this multi-million-dollar guy or girl, I don't know, to speak about how the scooters and the bicycles made them miss forecast. What? So this is not an Uber competitor. Okay, they're not the same company. So trade this based on like Snap, sucking wind inside of its own collection of, like, Snap is not Facebook, not Meta, but yet people trade it like it is, but it's not. They're like completely different companies, same as this one and Uber. So it's worth a trade, but not an investment. Microchip, I wouldn't touch it because I don't have any clues. I know there's a buyer at 82, but if you lose that, you get down to 79, and multiple sellers into 88. You take that out, you might get a couple of dollars above that. They're buying dips, and they're probably coming up against some pretty big sellers up there. Yeah, definitely not. Ooh. Okay, target 1 is 72. If this RSI drops to here, it is vulnerable to 72. Still vulnerable. All right, so thank you there, D, for answering. Meta, speaking of which, not an obvious entry point. Let it fill the gap. If it doesn't fill the gap, so be it. If it takes out this prior fail, it comes to here. I'm concerned. If it doesn't do this before the earnings, I'm concerned for their next earnings. I believe you should double check that fact, that they shrunk in sales 2 quarters back to back and nobody's concerned. This used to be the company that grows all the time, and now it's shrinking in sales relative to the year prior. Like Q4 of 2021 up here, Q4 of 2022 lower. Nobody cares? I care. What? No. This is a growth company. It's shrinking in sales. It needs to be repriced as a non-growth company. When will they figure it out? So technically, I see the 240 path starting from a lower perspective, like 160-ish. But if it doesn't happen before the earnings, I think it comes back down to double digits if somebody wakes up to that fact. I wouldn't short it. I'm just telling you, trade it until the earnings and then take your money out. Entry prices around 162, 160, 158. Much better. I'll put an alert. Up here, I don't have a reason to own it. New. Like new entries. Magna. Okay, so they have a clear selling line and a bunch of buying zones, and you're inside one. So as it approaches 52 and 50, they have buyers. I would trust those buyers on big volumes. So if you sold the put spread, or if it does have that, or if you bought shares here, make sure you're going to find sellers at 60. So respect that. If you did it as a trade, you're not going to get this easily. Those are not easy. I would exit at 59 and leave runners, and that's it. If you started it for that, you should have patience. Make sure it's not calls that die soon. MGM. If Caesar is a short, MZN is not a long. So, yes. Oh, my God. Jeez. I will try to short that. What? Is there earnings coming? No, there isn't. Oh, my God. Yes, I would love to sell a... Oh, Wolf Waves said down. That was old. Wait, when is this? Not to... Ed, homework. Help me. MGM. Daily Wolf Wave bet. Worth a short. I just added it to my list of things to consider buying puts on. By short, I mean just gentle short. Credit call spread, debit put spread. Vulnerable. I don't like typing the word vulnerable, so I have a shortcut for it. I type VLN, vulnerable shows up. Okay. 3M, worth a long with stops from a trading perspective. You take a long against this bounce and you exit here, so you have this much profits and you exit. Because if you come back down and it looks like they're selling rallies and you lose that, you go for a ride. So there's no reason why it's not 96 or 136 in the next 3 weeks. So if you just bought the dip, you did okay from a trading perspective. What just happened? What was that? Everything went black on my PC. I told you I'm looking for a PC, and it won't be an AMD. I guarantee it. Buy the dip zone. Make sure to book your profits. They're selling rallies. Mosaic. You should invest in agriculture companies because there's some political validity to the fear that we won't have enough food in the next 50 years. So in the long term, I think if that's what this is, right? It's agriculture. Yes. So the biggest fear from COVID, the pandemic, was not the virus for me. It was realizing that the last time we had a major pandemic, the world had 1.5 billion people. 1.5. We're like almost 9 now, they tell me. What? How many will we have in 50 years? We're going to need some pretty fake food soon. And I think this is a doorway to fake food or some super planting materials or whatever. So long-term investment maybe. Closer to 46 or 44, 42 maybe. Let me see here. From a trading perspective, it's a good base. They're fighting over 50, basically, plus or minus. So you have buyers below, sellers above. Not much to do here. They are a little pricey, but I think fair. Falcon Trading Computers. Oh, Falcon? Can you send me an email? Pricey is not bad. I just want something I can buy that the fan, I don't hear it. I want half liquid cooled. I know they don't make full liquid cooled. Thanks for that, Ed. All right, so what are we looking at? Microsoft. So I shorted Microsoft and somebody told me not to. I said I'm shorting the price action, not the company. It's a great company. So the short is working. I think the rallies into 262 should find sellers. Whether they win or not, I don't know. But there's still the opportunity to come down to 250, although not as urgent anymore. In fact, if you lose this will bring 246. It's basically my head and shoulders that I drew has another one brewing here. So if you want to see it, I'm not forecasting it, but if you want to see why one line would bring you another, let's say they bounce and it fails, there's another Head and Shoulders, and that is the target somewhere down here. Okay, so I'm not going to put it there. That's enough information. I know there's a buyer down here, so if it comes down, I will buy it. I have an alert. Okay, thanks, Ed. I appreciate it. Yeah, I want a PC that does not make noise. Who is this? ServiceNow. Bam! Arrow played out. And stay true to form and look for entry opportunities into the support zone. I want to caution you that the rally was pretty big, so let's zoom out and see if there were prior support zones there. Yeah, no, that should be a support zone. Maybe they come down to the 410 area. I don't know. So the easiest way to buy the dip in big tickets like these, $400 stocks, is to sell a put or a put spread. So credit call spread worked. I don't know how you guys shorted it if you did. Look at this downside scenario played out almost perfectly. They're doing higher lows, so they're catching. I'll take that out. They're no longer doing that. So they're just swing trading inside a huge range. So far, perfect chart. Rallies are susceptible to selling. Careful. NVIDIA, I wouldn't touch it. It's going into earnings. I think this red path should happen. If it doesn't, I think NVIDIA will crash hard the next time it has a small correction. So the area above it, the area it's trying to take out now, is pivotal to its weekly chart. I'm going to remind you, you're sick of hearing it, but this was a Head and Shoulders that NVIDIA needed to hold 220, 210, 215, plus or minus $5 to $10. And that was the forecast when it didn't. And now it's back into it. It just got up too fast. I just needed to get back half of the rally. That's it. I'm not asking it to collapse. I'm just asking it to give back, to fall into hands of better buyers. This path will make it an excellent long. Excellent. Up here, it's ginger. So maybe you can trade it in sympathy via AMD or XLK or SMH. NVR. Susceptible to dips. What is this? $4,600 stock? I think you can buy it at 4,600, maybe 4,800 nibble. And second part's 4,600. I don't know what that is. What the heck is this? Nice P&L. No spreadsheet today. Oracle, you see my path. Earnings coming up soon. Be careful. Just like NVIDIA, it needs to hold the floor. If not, the red path will finish. There are sellers up here in 88, 89. If they take out this guy, 89.50, then maybe this one, forget about it for now. These are buyers now. Okay, they were sellers and buyers, and I'll move it here. They will be here. So it's not the end. I'm not saying short it to high, to hell. Just give back a little bit to establish better footing. Oxy, my favorite stock of all time. No, it is not. But I don't hate it anymore because it's behaving well. Nothing changed since the last time I made comments about it. I said Oxy could be under 50 this year, and nobody believed me. It could be under 50 this year. And that's why I'm upset at people saying, oh, Buffett saying, I'm buying. It's like, Buffett is not making money off the stock price. He doesn't care where the stock price is. He wants the cash flow on his P&Ls. So he's buying the company for cash flow basis. So not for me, but you should know that if you're trying to short it, you are fighting the imminent headline or not of Buffett buys the whole company. I think that he had clearance to buy half the company from the gods at B, and he hasn't done it, and it's been months. I'm just saying, if the path to below 50, okay, I'm going to give them this much. That's a conservative dip from here. You see the head and shoulder pattern? It's not a pattern. It's like multiple efforts to hold the floor. You lose the floor, you're going to fall. And about this much. That's the path to below 50. So at one point I posted this comment about it, and I had 3 agrees. I usually have like cuss words. So I was like, maybe they're changing their minds. Okay, so Oxy is not a long in my opinion. Technically, yeah, you can buy the dip into support, but if you lose the support, and I don't think you have let's say you bought Oxy as a trade for a long, I urge you the best way to handle it. You're not crazy. It's fallen into support from a chart's perspective. But I would say, okay, if I invested $1,000, I would stop out if I lose 200 of it or 300. You choose a number that gets you out so you're not completely bogged down by it. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate it. Okay, Paramount. Memeish stock, middle of the range. You have buyers at 21.50, sellers at 26. You take out 26, you can get to 28, 28.50. If you lose that guy, 21.2, you might be able to buy it under 20. I don't know much about the company. Pepsi. Why is Pepsi so violent when the company business is as boring as can be? Check this out. So this is another, I copied it here, and I moved it here, and I could have moved it here. What is this, right? That's great. So here's what you should do. Next time it gets to 184, short it. I'm going to say puts, question mark, ghost feeds. That's a clue to myself. Now, having said that, if it does this here, not there, comes back down and it loses this, it might lose that and come back down to 154. In other words, trade the action. What is this? Another wolf wave? Last year. Which forecasted the drop, by the way. Trade the action. Don't get married to a stock mentally. So 177 would be good news 178.50, another breakout. But if they lose the recent support at 174.50, they will probably come down to 172 or 171.50. That's the immediate action on this one. I'm flabbergasted at how active these old stocks like Pepsi are. Yep. Speaking of old, this is not an obvious entry point. If you're asking for this one to get long, you do not have my permission at the risk of missing upside. You don't need my permission, but if it was my brother, I would tell him, you're crazy. Look back a decade. And here's a prior fail. That's your short-term trigger to get to here. And here is your prior bounce. That's your short-term trigger to get to here. So I just gave you investment advice and shorter-term trading comments. Not a good entry point, but it would be a catalyst higher. Whoa. This is 90 minutes of selling rejected up there. It's that longer period of time. 30-minute candles. Sold, 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 sold. I think a better entry point short-term would be down here. Pfizer, avoid it. Avoid it. This is a headline stock. It could be a legal disaster. I'm seeing some things, true or not, I don't know. You don't want to play the political game. Good company otherwise, I guess. I don't know, but hated. And I mean hated on the street, Main Street. So be careful. You don't want to lose money because of memes out there. True or not, I don't know. Technically, you're inside of a buying zone. So if you bought the dip into Pfizer, excellent. Please be careful. If you lose this, I'm going to say something that's going to drop jaws. If you lose 40.9, it might get to like 32. I'm just saying. Okay, so this I'm going to change. I'm going to be gentle with the downside arrow. That arrow is nowhere near the actual size of the drop based on the head and shoulders. Look at it. Giant head, giant shoulder, giant head, giant shoulder. And you lose that area. Technically, you'd be in the 20s. But there are buyers. So that shouldn't happen. But if I'm really... If there's any shadow of the truth of what people are saying out there, then this is probably doable on emotions alone. So be careful. Make it a trade, don't make it a full-blown investment. Don't panic out of the stock, but know what you're getting into. What is this? Yeah, this chart is weird. So you need to study the company. I don't know what is this. You don't see a chart looking like this anywhere in reality. Something's going on. Okay, so this is a perfect pop to here, but that's just, what is this? I can't make sense of it. So be careful. I don't think that's easy. I don't think it's doable. 50 is a problem, 49.50. PayPal, great company. Good long here. Did I go long on PayPal? No, it should be on my go long list. All right, now I know why not. All right. Wow, look at these two candles. What is it with PayPal? It loves to do island tops of sorts. So now, what was with this gap? Stupid. At least they erased most of it. Inside this, I'm a buyer, and you stop out below this. Below 65, it might go to the 50s or 40s. It shouldn't, but it could. This company trades with Bitcoin usually, and it's going the opposite way of Bitcoin. Let me see Square. So this rally was too big, and now they're pricing it out, and I think it broke the chart. So you're going to have to be brave in catching this falling knife. You could end up at 79 from here, so $5 rally is worth it. Best way to do it, in my opinion, selling a put or a put spread on a bad day, and or combining it with a debit call spread longer term. That'd be a good way to do it. Interesting. RCL, not for me, way too high. Hard to short. They have really big fans, but this is way too high. If you're not booking profits into these fails, then you and I have different risk appetites. Meanwhile, if you look at it, they are buying dips. See that? Look at this. Wolf Wave 1, 2, and 3. All right, so if you remember this, I shorted it and shared a short on it, and worked one day, and then it didn't, and then it worked back again, and I said, you might want to exit, and I stayed in it. I got the price action I wanted. My puts lost because I had mistimed my entry, but it was religious. The way it happened, the wolf wave was penny accurate. The time frame was wrong on my part. So they're selling, they're buying dips is what I'm saying. So buy the next dip. Don't chase it up here. Rivian, I would go long via shares for the long term as an investment, half size. And I would sell puts to own shares every week until they give me those shares. What does that mean? If I want to own it at 18, I can sell $18 puts. I haven't checked at the values. So I'm not giving you trading advice. I'm telling you the concept. If I wanted to go long a stock, I would sell puts below current price every week. And if I get put the stock, then I own my starting position. I see a lot of them. Now I have 2 in my neighborhood, and I see them everywhere on the street in different colors. And the prices have come down a little bit. So this is a company that I think will sell everything it makes. Therefore, the success in the future depends on what it can make, how many. I don't have reason to doubt their ability to expand. They spend a lot of money, so I'm assuming they can produce many. I prefer it over Lucid as far as outcome. Is this the company you're asking about? It looks like the chart worked. Let's see if we do have a base that you can buy. Okay, so if you're starting longs on this chart, inside this base, okay, that's proper action because we saw it coming, or at least the possibility. It came out and then it played out and then some. Let's see here for a second. So technically it could go lower. But these are buyers. You trust the buyers until they fail. So longs into that dip are fine. Don't add. If you're long from up top, I would not add. Unless that was not a full-size position up top. This guy is stuck in the middle of buyers and sellers. I think the sellers have the edge into 27. Rallies will face tremendous selling. So the closer you are to 24 as an entry point, the better with stops. Shopify, I love this company, and I love this company. I don't really love this company. I like going long on bad days. It's not a bad enough day for me. It's getting there, so you could convince me to sell a put or a put spread on a bad day. I didn't, though. I wonder why not. Okay. If I'm long Amazon, I would not go long this stock. I would close my Amazon. It's a good spot down here. It's good base. Silver Lake, everything I said about Mara, Silvergate, sorry, Mara and all the other Bitcoin trades, stocks, coin, applies here. And I will use my friend saying he's been stung losing hundreds of thousands in Bitcoin, and he said he's done with Bitcoin, and he said he's actually looking to buy into SI. I think that's nuts, because this is, I mean, I don't know anything about the company, and the crisis that is in Bitcoin right now is not the Bitcoin prices. It's the banks that are going bankrupt. So this is 2008-like crisis, and he's looking to invest in Lehman type of companies. Maybe it fails, maybe it doesn't. So I would rather bet on Bitcoin rather than the company that deals with Bitcoin. So his thought process is not crazy. He's like, I don't trust the metal, the coin itself, but I trust the bank. Well, I don't trust the bank, and I trust the coins. You know, I've heard it. You've heard me say it. I'm very confident in my ability to trade Bitcoin, and that's why I've almost doubled my crypto account on this dip. But I have no confidence in saying that I will have the money down the line, which is me saying I trust the price action and my charting abilities to trade it well, but I don't know if my bank will survive. So that's the risky part, not the price action. So this is, if you get long SI, you're saying the opposite of me. I just want you to know that. Are there more videos? Thomas, you need more education. I'll put out more. But if you join me during the day with the live sessions, there's education all day. And you're just going to have to ask questions. And every question will get you an answer that will move you forward. Thanks for being part of the group, by the way. Everyone hyping up Silvergate because of Ken Griffin, Citadel guy, is getting in on it. Yeah, well, they can all suck a lemon, if you ask me, Ray. What a bunch of crooks. All right, so let's comment on the stock. It's in the middle of a range, very violent. Know your way around it. There are buyers below 16 and sellers above 21. All right, SLB, I wouldn't touch it just because I don't know anything about Schlumberger anymore. I think if it loses 52, it could go to 48. And I think the sellers are pretty tough at 56 through 58. You take out 58, you might break above 60. But I would give the advantage to the bears on this one. We'll see what happens. Make sure there's no earnings coming up. SMH will go by way of what NVIDIA does this week. I think it reports earnings, and the SMH will follow. I would rather be long the QQQ, to be honest, or the SPY, or the IWM even. The breakout happened. They've tested for footing once. They don't need to come back down to 232, but they could. And if they come back down to 220 or 216, would make a better entry point. Available and available, maybe. It's a good buy to dip moment. SoFi, I've exited and I have not re-entered. I didn't catch the absolute top, but it was like a 50% or 60% win. I can't remember. I think I will have the opportunity to enter SoFi at 5.6. So I have alerts. If you buy SoFi into this, you have faith in that? I don't. I want it sub 6. Spectrum Brands. It's falling into support. I don't know the company. So this is comments on the chart and nothing more. Go to 2 hours. Maybe I have more information. Yeah, no, not for me. Maybe below 56 or at 56. Yeah, not for me here. Square. I like it. It's not an obvious entry point. Maybe after a dip and drop. Like PayPal is looking better in relation to its rally. So it gave up more of its rally than Square. You see what I'm saying? If this is the rally, Square gave up barely half now. I think it would be better entry point around 72 or so. But I'm not opposed to selling a put spread in it. But I think PayPal doesn't trade as well, but is not as vulnerable. This played out almost perfectly, which was pretty insane. In fact, if you move it this way, it is perfect. So on the way down, it's falling into a support zone, and it's pretty wide. I do like the company. TFC. What is this? Oh my God. Yeah, not for me. I think it gets to 46 or 45. Hard seller at 50.5. You take out that, you eliminate that possibility, and you get to 53. Short it against that. By short it, I mean get out of longs. Make that your price target, the zone. TJX, I don't know why. Blech, the whole sector. Too high for my taste. I think you will have an opportunity to get into TJX in the 70s, like the low 70s, I should say, like 72. I wouldn't short it for that. I don't have any indication from recent. But what the fuck? Okay, this is proof positive that this is the biggest idiot market I've ever seen in my entire life. Listen to this sacrilege here, okay? This is a company that is a retail store. What is this? Oh, I'm looking not at the P&L. The sales are down at best over a long period of time. Let's see here. For the past, okay, so they have an okay trend, and they're at the all-time high levels. Whereas companies who make hundreds of billions of dollars every fart, they can't find footing. This is an idiot market. This is proof positive. It is not an entry point for me. If it comes down below 70, I might be interested. But this is where I would say, if you show me the stock, I would say, I missed it. So here is enter with stops, and that was the right thing to do. Up here is exit. If this was an entry point, this is an exit point. Re-entry somewhere down here, into this cluster at least. So this is not an obvious entry point, to put it gently. I wasn't upset with the stock. I'm upset with the behavior of this stupid market. Texas Pacific Land Corporation. What? Is this a prison stock? What is this? I probably said that at the same time. Maybe closer to 1600 would be better. I mean, it's falling into support. You should pay attention to the rallies. I think they find sellers into 2100. TPR, definitely not an obvious entry point. Oh, vulnerable too. So here's a harmonic pattern that says target 1 is 38.39. It has not proven itself correctly, okay? So I'm going to say vulnerable, and just to keep people thinking that it's not why not book some profits. Now, I need companion triggers, and they're not here. But I can say I'm shorting the pattern, but I'm also shorting this prior fail and this prior fail. So I can see why somebody bought puts on this and is seeing if they can make them work out. So wait, TPR, that's Tapestry. Okay, that's the old retail company. I forgot the name of it. Okay. That's another idiotic move. The company spends decades building a brand, and now I can't even remember the brand they built. Who is this? Who used to be this? Coach and Kate Spade. I can't even remember this was Coach. That's how bad of a move that was. You build a brand for decades and suddenly Tapestry. Oh yeah, Tapestry. That makes total sense. Tesla. What do they make? Not an obvious entry point for Tesla. I have a sneaky suspicion, although I wouldn't want you to short it based on this one or not get long it, that it should get back below 160, 150, and maybe in the high 40s. The rally was too big. We forecasted the drop potential. We didn't say it was going to drop. I said once it lost the neckline, yes, it was going to drop. And to the 2 digits and almost got there, 102 point something was the low. The rally out from that was over the top. They should have stopped here, fallen a little bit, come back to here, fallen a little bit. Nope, they took all of it at once, and they got to the level that got me short. That got me saying it's going much, much lower. They're back at it. And they want to cut through that too. I mean, they can. That's the type of stock that can. But normal stocks should drop $20, $30, $40 from there. To give back at 160 is halfway. 159 is halfway. So it's not crazy. I'm not asking it to crash. I'm definitely not saying short it. But I'm saying if you're buying calls, make sure you're tactical about it. In and out, in and out. You sold the put at 150. That's sane. I would like that. That's okay. TWM. Yep. That's good. So TWM. ProShare Ultra Short. The Russell. I think you're going to lose money if you go long this guy here. Let's see. Is that one of those? Yeah. Okay. Trade it. If you get a spike, book it into 15. And that's as nice as I'm going to say it. Listen, folks. Being an ultra bear, like a perma bear, which is what this is, right? This is shorting a market, period, end of story. You can't be a perma bear. If you are, let me change your mind. You can be bearish for longer stints of time. You can't be always bearish, because this is proof positive that you'll always be wrong in the long term. You only need to be right once, but the concept of being perma bear is right. This is proof positive it isn't. You cannot get a perma bear chart not to look like this. This is another perma bear, right? You can trade them short for stints here and there, like enter here, exit here, enter here, exit here, but don't hold them, because in the long run you are 1000% wrong. Markets are higher in the future unless we have zombies, in which case buy more ammo, which I probably will do this weekend. But anyway, UNG, I already told you. I covered it in details. Avoid. This could be $6. I don't know. $5, $4, maybe 12. I don't know. That's the point. I don't know. I closed my long a day before the crash, and thank goodness I told people who I knew were long by sold puts the same. They said, you want to repeat it? I said no, because now I have nothing. Before I had prior buys. Now I have no levels. It's never been this low before. This is the all-time low. So what are you selling puts against? UNH. So if the Dow is going to succeed, this must succeed, because it is the biggest chunk of the Dow because of the price of the stock. So I want to say up is easier, even though I'm going to say you might have the opportunity to buy it at 460 or lower. But if you bought the dip, I would trim. You're going into a pivot zone, the resistance area. So this is where you book your profits for a trade. It could get to 510. So if you want to leave runners, that's fine. But the easy bounce came, and if you buy it here, you are anticipating much more strength, which is not evident. Taking out 510 could get you 530, but that's not going to be easy. UNP, I would think the sellers have an advantage, and I would think they would lose 182 and finish my arrows. I wouldn't be shorting it here. I would short the rallies, because that's what they're doing. They're selling rallies. Here, let's put it there. Selling rallies. So the sellers have an advantage until they start making higher lows. So it's okay to make lower highs with higher lows. They come to blows around the circle, and then we'll see what happens next. For now, I assume the sellers have an advantage, because the buyers need to find strong footing, and I think the stronger footing is down here. That gets you back to the pandemic zone. Valaris, did you mean Vail? Yeah, this is a short on a daily basis. It could come down to 68 if this is what you meant, and stop out on a new high. Vet, Vermilion, what do they make? Energy of what? Exploration, development, oil, natural gas. Yeah, so this one is trading. Okay, so if you want to trade UNG, find a company like this. If this is, let's see if it's a good proxy to UNG, because we don't have a lower low on the UNG chart. Maybe this will give us an idea. Let's go to 15 minutes. I'm trying to see if they move in tandem. 60. Close enough. So if I go to a daily, And I want to see where this guy had support. Let's take this out of here. This guy's falling into this cluster. So I think UNG has another 8% in it lower potential. UNG. So looking at Vermilion, if you're the same person asking for both, I caution you to do both. If you want to buy shares, leave room to add later. Earnings are coming. Yeah. You have no clue. The support is too old to be sharp. The neckline may have been here. The drop is that much. So you have a lot of potential downside from necklines. Let's say that this is the neckline. $10. This is the target. So you could fall into this base. So be careful, okay? Okay, so if you beat 16, you get to 18 or 19. So buy dips. Wait, earnings are coming. Forget about that. Here's what you do. This is a foolproof method. It never fails. Well, 50% of the time it fails. You find a shiny coin and you shine it up and you go heads. Heads. Tails. So heads it is. I don't know. Over the earnings, I don't know. Without the earnings, it's okay to be long. Short term, the bulls have momentum. Checkpoint number 1, 15.7. Checkpoint number 2 here, you take that out, you have some breathing room. Otherwise, the mode is to buy dips into prior support. So if it falls on earnings, and you know the fundamentals, I don't because it's a recent spin-off. I think into 12 and 11 would make it an interesting trade. Below that, whoosh, lower. But I don't know anything about it. Wells Fargo, this is not an obvious entry point. At the risk of saying above 49, it goes to 53. What? That's the only bank that the chart is looking that exciting. But Wells Fargo has its own problems, so it may not always trade like a bank. It's like the black sheep. So this was target 1 and target 2 on a harmonic from that green thing. You see it? They did 1 and forget about target 2. They're into that area, so very violent. What I would say is that buying the dip works. So buying the dip into 44 or lower would be better than holding calls here. But if you are able to take some pain, you have the opportunity to break out of 49 on a daily chart. Short term, you're at risk of falling to 46.20, which, again, buying the dip works. So I would put an alert here. If I'm long, I want to see if they can fill up that gap above. WRB. I don't know what that is. Okay, whatever it is stuck in the middle of the range. There should be buyers here, and there should be buyers below that. They are selling rallies. So be careful in case they started selling rallies, because they can bleed to 62 and 61, which would make a much better starting point. XLE short rips, that's my opinion. I think the lie of oil, the shortage of oil, is running its course. And I haven't traded the XLE in a while. Exxon and Chevron is the XLE. Exxon is super strong. Chevron is not, which is pretty freaking weird. Exxon was a short. I didn't do it. Other people did. Hopefully you made a ton of money. Why is Chevron looking like this and Exxon like the other one? So this could be an unbelievable win. And it is. Whoever listened, put diagonal. Look, my answer to every oil company. Yeah. So the XLE is not a long, and it's short to pops. I want to say I have a short on the XLE, but I don't remember it. No. Maybe 82 has buyers, maybe 79. These two red things. Otherwise, there's a good chance it'll be, not a good chance. There is a chance it'll be below 74. What? $10 lower. Yeah, why not? What do you know that I don't? You lose this, you're coming down to here. So I'm going to draw it just to scare you a little bit. And I'm being generous. Look at that double gap here. The XLF. My phone is going bonkers. Not sure why. A whole bunch of people can't get on Benzinga. Pamela, I got your message. Thank you. I'll hook you up. Okay. Yeah, they're having issues. I reported it on my end. I don't know what that does, but I reported it. Hopefully they're not off for the weekend. In my companies, the IT people never had off. They were always on call. I don't know about here. So this could be a sell the rip, 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 bleed lower on the XLF. That's why banks are shortable. If I'm short the AXP, I should book it. But if I wanted to roll into shorting the XLF for a trade from here to here, I can, but it's not for me. Short the rally by buying a put or something. The XLF is too thin for me. I don't mess with it. But it's not a good long right now. It's still vulnerable for more downside. The XRT, definitely not a long. Short. I think the rallies into 74 will fail, and it could end up being at 66, which would make a better starting point. You should know who's in it. I can't remember who's in it anymore. Is it an Amazon trade? Is it a China trade? I don't know what it is. So is it a Home Depot trade? Not Home Depot. What's the transportation company? FedEx or something like that. So look into who's in it. Zscaler. This is the fastest, one of the fastest moving stocks on the planet. So I get it why a stock like this moves that. I don't get it why Pepsi moves like that either. So this was the upside. It came to fruition. One of the biggest wins I ever shared to members was on it, and that was the biggest miss on my part. I bought it, whatever I said, call at the time. It was a quadruple, and then it went like 20x or 30x or some weird stuff. Anyway, dips into 120 and 115 are better than here, but if they bounce off of here and take 143 out, don't stand in its way. Buy the dip. All right. Woo-hoo. We have all of them. They're done.